Recording. 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to another edition of Media Maniacs. I am here with our hosts, Russell Courier and Talon Rudell. Let's throw it over them right now.
Well, hello there, audience members.
How's it going? We're Media Maniacs. We review everything.
And we're just crazy enough to do it.
All right. And this first part, we're going to be talking about a TV sitcom from England called Doc Martin.
And following that, we're doing a new thing, which we're going to be doing a short film of the week. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we are doing
Blazing Saddles review, and one of my favorites, and one of my favorite comedies, one of my favorite Mel Brooks. Anyway, first off, Doc Martin.
Doc Martin.
My sister was watching the show not too long ago, and every time she had it on, I just stopped and was just glued to the screen. I just couldn't look away, and it's. The basis of the story, Doc Martin is a doctor from London who gets transferred to this little town. I can't remember the name of the town now. I should have wrote it down. Anyway, he's just not used to the small village type dynamic, so he's just all too serious and everything, but it just adds even more to the comedy of the show. And I think of this show as like a lighthearted version of House, just because it's that, grumpy type doctor character and everything. So, and what did you think of watching the first episode of Doc Martin? Really, pretty much.
I saw the arrogance, I guess, of House, but House is better because House is my favorite show of all time. Like you cannot compare anything to House.
Well, yeah,
literally.
You can't really want to.
Like you can compare it, but in my opinion, I think nothing will beat it. Like I've watched Grey's Anatomy and I like it. It's a good show. There's some really great moments in it, but the character depth I don't think is there, especially in the earlier seasons of House. House's character, Foreman, Chase, and all these characters, like even 13 and Kuttner, which are later on, like depth of character. And but Doc Martin, like his character is really interesting.
Yes, very much so.
Especially with the small town dynamic, it's a fish out of water kind of story, which is a lot different than the more of a hospital show that you're used to. And so it's a different take, and it takes place, like you said, in a small town, but it's also in the moors of England, like a small island, basically.
And so it is pretty much just blocked off from the rest of civilization.
Exactly.
And he just keeps, and I've watched a couple parts of episodes throughout, he just wants to get off the island and everything. He keeps threatening going back to London and all this. But it's like, it's the same basic, once I know I'm out, they pull me back in type joke and everything. And just the actors that they have in the show, one I thought was funny. We just reviewed episodes of Doctor Who last week. One of yours was Blink. One of the characters from this episode was in Blink. So I just noticed that, and I was just like, what? That's funny.
Yeah.
So that was one little bit I thought was hilarious of this thing. And
I think the best part about, or one of the most interesting part about the show is the lightheartedness. Hospital or doctor shows are usually more, they have lighthearted elements to it, but it's not the point. That's more of the point. The point isn't really the doctor stuff. It's more of the fish out of water. And I think that really does work for its favor because it's more about the character. Example, really good example is in between scenes, instead of being something like doctory, it's very like about him, about the character Doc Martin. And the scenes, they have this really sitcom-y kind of music playing in between. That synthy, almost happy kind of sound to it.
It's like almost as if you mix, say, House with like Seinfeld. I don't know. It was just something like that.
I would say like Psych.
Oh yeah, that would make it. I could see that now.
Especially with like the character dynamic and the way it's filmed and the sound of the music. Less 80s references, but definitely a more Psych kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and also the filming style kind of similar to the Psych as well and everything. And the show with how Doc is taken in this town and everything, he just feels like he's hated at one point in the show and everything and just wants to get out of there before he feels embarrassed. And then one person finally just comes up to him and just says, you need patience and we need a doc. We don't have to love each other now, do we?
Yeah, and the guy that did that is actually Hagrid.
Yeah, was that? No, that's not Hagrid, is it?
Pretty sure.
No, I don't think you're right.
I'm probably wrong.
I know who he is, though. He was in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I know him from that show, but that was not Hagrid.
I think he also played Churchill in Doctor Who.
He did. You're right about that. He did play Winston Churchill.
So he wasn't Hagrid, but he was Churchill, which is even better.
Yeah, yeah. You're
Like
right.
every Brit loves their Churchill.
And throughout the show, you see more actors and everything coming in. And one thing I found out in this also, the woman in this first episode, but I didn't
Don't
even.
spoil.
No, I found out she was in the movie Nanny McPhee. And I didn't even, and my sister told me, I was like, Nanny McPhee, who is she in that? And she was like, oh, she was the blonde lady. And I'm like, how did makeup must have done wonders for her,
Yeah.
for that character and everything.
Well,
I know.
It's an interesting show. It's one of those shows, like, if you're not in for the mood for a very serious, like Breaking Bad, or if you're not in the mood for Mad Men, or even like HBO or Showtime shows where they're a lot more serious and a lot more gritty.
Yeah.
This is that, like, colorful, more about the character, happier-go-lucky, but it's not. It doesn't take itself too seriously either. Which is crazy.
And there's some language in the show too. The show is actually not rated, as I saw on Netflix.
Well, because the British, Doctor Who's not rated either. Because the British are very lax. Like, there's a show on BBC, or not on BBC, one of the other channels for Britain called Skins, and that's just on at like 8 o'clock at night, and there's every swear word you can think, nudity, sex, drugs, everything possible, and it was just on normal TV.
Oh.
It's just they're very lax with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they don't have the FCC breathing down their backs like other shows.
Yeah,
and stuff
their
around
censorship
America.
is different.
Yeah, but later on, I'm not. There's one little thing I'm going to spoil, just as you see in a later episode. Hey, just about Doc Martin's character himself. He faints at the sight of blood. I'm not even joking. I saw a part of the second episode. Kid with a nosebleed bumps into him in the hospital, or something. He looks down, he sees the blood. He has to rush to the bathroom to vomit. And it's just like
He's a surgeon.
Exactly. It's hilarious. He's a surgeon, and he gets a little lightheaded at the sight of blood. And so it's like kind of weird, contradicted type character, kind of with like.
Especially with how almost stern the character ends up being.
Yeah, it seems like he's just too strict. He needs to be laid back a bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's what pulls me in. He's such a jerk. He just doesn't really care.
Yeah.
But you kind of watch him learn to care about the people and everything.
Well, I think, in summary, we would say this is a good show. That's a more lighthearted show. There's 6 series, not seasons, series, as they're called in Britain. There's 6 series of them on Netflix right now, and so if it's something you want to check out after our review, it's definitely worth it.
Definitely.
So, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be doing short films of the week, so stay tuned.
Yep.
Hidden gems lie all around the Leonard area. You may drive past them and not realize the beauty they hold. This is the Leonard Nature Park, located just outside of downtown. Trails surround the area, and there are plenty of places to stop and relax with family or friends. This is just a small part of Leonard, Michigan, seen only on OC TV.
This is the city where danger lurks. Today, a new creature walks among us, terrorizing innocent citizens. They prowl the streets alone and in packs, causing mayhem, destruction, and carnage. Warning. Until this threat can be contained, we must all be on the lookout for the dreaded digital deadwalkers. They're not looking out for you.
Dude! Engage!
A public service safety message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who want to keep everyone well connected
Sorry.
with strong, healthy bones.
Welcome back to this episode of Media Maniacs. We are here with the Jamaican and the Gothamite. Let's throw it back to them.
I knew he was going to make a joke about our shirts.
Yeah, he usually does, which I'm cool with the Gothamite. I like that.
Bob Marley, whatever. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this segment is going to be about short films. And I wanted to do this because we haven't touched on that genre. That's kind of like why we did the Doc Martin segment, because we really haven't touched about on TV quite as much as we have done movies and music and stuff.
The only bit of TV we've touched on before this was like Doctor Who, and
Yeah,
that was
just
it.
a discussion of doctors versus a review of an episode or a pilot or a show in general. So, I went to the website shortoftheweek.com. This is a great website, has a bunch of different options for like short documentaries and fiction films and animations. And I went there and I was looking at some films and I wanted to discuss the movie or the short film Normal Doors. And this was written and directed by James Sweeney. And it's entirely, I don't know if it was filmed, but the entire short film, it's like 10 minutes, 9 minutes, and it's in 4:3 aspect ratio. So there's the black bars in the right and left.
Oh. And what's it about?
So it's about a young man, probably mid-20s, and the premise is he goes to a party that is what he thinks is an M&M party. So he dresses up as the green M&M, but it's actually an S&M party.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that video actually. I was on that website and I was going through and I saw that one, which I thought was funny. One of the people in that was from the show Arrow. That's why I clicked on it, because the blonde girl in there was from the TV show Arrow. And I did watch that. I don't think I only watched like a couple of minutes in. I didn't watch that far in.
Yeah, I thought it was just gorgeously shot. The art direction was fantastic. The acting was really good. And the idea is that this character is kind of questioning his life. He can't decide if he's gay or straight. He's always thought he was. And the thing starts off with him talking to the camera like, now a movie like this usually starts off with, and he's talking really fast, like, and like a montage of things that he thinks would make someone homosexual. And then it kind of just goes off on that direction and realizes he's talking to the girl that's from Arrow.
Yeah.
And then it kind of has this different ending that you wouldn't expect. And I'm not gonna really like go into it because I think it's something that you really need to experience because it's unexpected. And it's something that I've never seen before, and it's something that I think could be a great narrative trope, a great thing that would be an option in movies. And that's what short films do. Short films are those kind of things that you don't expect to do what they do, and they really reach you in a way that a normal film can't do because they have to condense everything into 9 minutes, or even under 40 minutes is technically the short film definition by the Academy of Motion and Picture Arts and Sciences. So short films, the reason I wanted to do this is because they're a lot different, but they're also something you should check out if you love movies, if you love media like we do. It's something to look into every once in a while and see what's happening, because you never know. A short, like Clerks, I believe, was a short film that got made into a movie.
Well, it was originally just supposed to be an indie short film type thing.
Exactly,
and then
it made a full
and then
film.
it just made just went up and up and just got picked up and everything.
And multiple different directors. Napoleon Dynamite was originally a short film, and the guy that played Napoleon Dynamite, I can never remember his name, was the actor that played Napoleon Dynamite. And it was like a 5-minute short film, black and white, on a camcorder. Somebody saw it, they loved it, funded the director, and he kept the same actor, and became a cult hit.
Oh.
And so like short films are some, like Scorsese started off in short films.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
He also did, like, you don't
I
realize
see why you direct short films now.
Yeah, because it's a great way to start and perfect your skill.
All right.
And so it's
I need to
definitely
get
something
into
look
that a little bit more. I kind of wanted to do that back in the day, make short films and everything, but I never got around to it.
So I would highly recommend the film Normal Doors, and if you can find it on Vimeo, or you can go to shortoftheweek.com and search there.
All right. The video I picked was something I saw a while ago. I'm a huge Power Rangers fan, and anytime when someone takes the original mythos and turns it around and makes their own thing, I fall in love with it. Zordon Fan Film was the name of this YouTube page, and they have this video called Teenagers with Attitude. I'm sorry, am I boring you?
Only a little bit. Just kidding.
Anyway, but they change up the story of like how the 5 teens, the teenagers with this attitude, come together. You know, the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger cast being, you know, Jason, Kimberly, and all them. Well, not the cast, the characters. And instead, they kind of make this video. It's like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers meets Breakfast Club, because how they all meet together is in detention. So they get into a fight at Ernie's Juice Bar, which is a place in the TV show, which I thought they reference the show a lot and very nicely. And they talk about characters Bulk and Skull, which I nearly thought I would dress up as going to a convention as one of, you know, Bulk. Anyway, though, as it goes on, it's like they get into this fight. Pretty much they're trying to defend themselves from the 2 bullies and everything, and then it causes big media frenzy because Kimberly is on newspaper, and she put out the story and everything for the school newspaper, and so the principal puts them all in detention because he doesn't hear all the story. He only hears one half of it. Anyway, as this is going on, Rita Repulsa, the villain, is on the moon and starts attacking Earth and everything. But it's really cool how they talk to each other and how you see the character development of
before the events.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the actual
but this
show.
is only a half-hour film. It's mainly them in detention talking. So it's really great to know each character, Jason the Red Ranger, Zach the Black Ranger, and all this. Which, one thing they kind of nodded to in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there was a bit of a race issue with that when they casted the characters. They didn't think clearly on it, with the Black Ranger in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers being black and the Yellow Ranger being Asian. I believe she was from Vietnam. Anyway, where in this film, they make the Red Ranger black and they make the Black Ranger white, and they're still the same type of characters and everything. They still have the personalities of each character mainly, but they turn it on a dime a little, and
to kind of address that little hints of racism that there were back in the early 90s.
Yes, and to kind of just show how it could have been different and stuff, and show their own idea of it. And these people, this isn't the main thing they do for their site. They have an hour video of like Zordon, their leader from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, on the planet he grew up on, fighting Rita Repulsa and everything, which I would have picked that, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I've seen Teenagers with Attitude, which this is all connected in this big universe and everything. And I was just blown away by it, just because, and also they added like, the Blue Ranger and the Pink Ranger, Billy and Kimberly, are stepbrother, stepsister, and all this and this. So they changed up the story even more, but it all makes it work. And since there's a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie coming out later on, seeing this, it kind of made me think how they can make it like an actual movie and everything. Because I was like, oh, I'm watching a real movie and everything watching this. Yeah. So now that I'm done on my little Power Rangers rant and everything, I just really like what Zordon Fan Film are doing with this, and they're doing another part of it too. Zordon Fan Film on YouTube, check them out. They're really good at what they do, production-wise and everything.
And before I forget to mention, Normal Doors, although great, might not be appropriate for younger children, probably PG-13 a little bit, or like maybe a little bit older, because the references to S&M and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think there's some swearing, but it's not like out of like I've seen worse in PG-13 movies. And in my film, there's a little bit of like weapon shown, like Trini, or Trinity as they call her. They changed up her backstory a bit. Has a balisong butterfly knife. That's a little something kind of on the PG-13 website and everything. So watch out for that too. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to be doing a review of Blazing Saddles. Don't go away.
Hi everybody, I'm Terry Stiles.
Hi everybody, I'm Bill Service, and I'm the producer of Our Community Access. Terry and I started our show 8 years ago to bring our community into your living rooms.
Our Community Access is a show born from the rich diversity of our community, and we want to brag about it and the people creating that diversity.
Over the year, we've been from fox hunts to beekeeping, and right in your own backyard.
We welcome new businesses, chamber fashion, senior hobbies, class reunions, and much, much more.
We've covered all our celebrations from Leonard Strawberry Festival to our premier Lone Ranger Parade.
But there's still more avenues that we plan on going on.
So watch Our Community Access at 9:30 and 5:30 every day, and you have a great, great week.
Welcome back to Media Maniacs. We are here with Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. Let's throw right back to them.
I'm Walter White.
Okay,
I am Walter White.
No, I am the danger. No, okay. Anyway,
I'm going to be the one that goes bald. I won't doubt it.
Actually, that would make sense if I was Walter White, because my family has a thing where we go bald at like 25. I'm 23, so I'm getting there.
It's happening. It's happening.
It's happening. It's already. You can see it. Anyway, all right. Here's our review of the movie Blazing Saddles. Really funny movie. Mel Brooks.
Before we even start,
director.
let's just say, what is this rated? I think it's rated R.
It's R. It's an R-rated movie.
Definitely
so not with children.
Not for children.
Not for people under the age of 17 applied. You know?
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that it was made in a different era, so you have to keep that in mind.
This was made in '74.
Yeah, so there's a lot of profanity that would offend some people nowadays, or even back then.
Language.
And so go in with that expectation, and then you'll be okay. Because if you don't know and you're just seeing this movie, you'll be like, how did they get away with that? It's a different era, different rules back then. And so it's a great movie, but you just got to be aware of that before you go in.
And just one thing about it, with that being said, the comedy in this movie is exactly. I remember when I first saw this, I think I was about 16, 17. I first saw this movie and I just couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. It was so awesome.
It's definitely Mel Brooks at his best, his heyday.
And I think I'd put this number 2 probably below Young Frankenstein, or maybe I don't know. I haven't made up thought of a list, but I love Robin Hood Men in Tights. I love all those other movies they ever done.
I would say
Part 1.
Producers is probably my favorite.
I still haven't seen Producer.
For Hitler in Germany. It's just so funny. And then I don't know. And then after that's probably like Spaceballs, and then Robin Hood Men in Tights.
I think that would be my number 1, just because John Candy is like the Chewbacca character and everything. Maybe the late great John Candy. May rest in peace. Anyway, Blazing Saddles.
It's hilarious, and I think it's one of the best movies with fourth wall breaks until Deadpool.
Yeah.
Until Deadpool.
But that's Mel Brooks is known for his fourth wall breaks and everything, and this just and when you see Mongo in this movie, and he just looks at the camera, Mongo only pawn in game of life. It's just so funny. You just have to just address the audience.
Why don't you explain the concept of this movie?
Well, the concept of this movie is
it's a Western.
Yeah, it's a Western.
It's a comedy.
There's a railroad people are trying to go around this mountain or something like that, and they find themselves in quicksand, so they end up wanting to drill through a town called Rockridge and run the train through there.
And so some money-hungry people.
Hedley Lamar, Hedley Lamar, not Hedy Lamar, as they joke about in the movie, which I found out Hedy Lamar actually sued Mel Brooks. For using her name.
They made a joke about it in the movie.
And they made a joke about it in the movie. Now that just shows how funny Mel Brooks can really be. He can take something that's on a down note and make it a bright side. And that just blew me away. I didn't even notice that first time watching it. I'm going through trivia and I found that out. I'm like, no, that shows a true person, a true comedian, really.
Yeah, and he also wrote most of the music.
Yeah. And I found out that the person who did the original Blazing Saddles song didn't know it was a parody movie. And so he sang it like it would be for like a normal Western and everything. And Mel Brooks didn't want him to know, and because he didn't want to take away any of his singing or any type emotion towards it. Anyway, and so with the whole, putting the train through Rockridge and all this stuff, there was one person who worked on the railroad. Bart was his name. He ended up smacking someone in the back of the head with a shovel. I don't want to. That's kind of a spoiler. Sorry. Anyway, but he was planned to be hung, but hung, either or.
People get hanged, pitchers get hung.
Okay.
Sorry, it's one of those ones that.
Anyway, though, Hedley Lamar has the idea. Well, of this town, they asked for a sheriff after they were trying to take over this town and all this stuff. So he grabs Bart, pulls him in and has him be a sheriff and think that he might get killed in the next day.
Yeah, and the reason is because this is in the West and he was a slave. And so they think because if he's black, they'll just kill him on the spot and then and then everyone will leave. And that's the kind of racism kind of things that we're talking about, like with the different era.
And
But they do-
the main theme of this movie, though, is just equality.
Is equality and
yeah.
accepting who you are. And
Exactly, and not just judging someone just by looking at them.
Exactly.
So
and that's why they're able to really do it and say what they did and do what they did, because it's not doing it in a way that's negatively impacting it. It's trying to say, hey, people are people.
And the first person who doesn't even care about the race issue in this movie, when you first see him, he's drunk Gene Wilder as the character of Jim, or the Waco Kid. And just adding that character into that was just, really cool and everything. I love the whole chess scene that's between the two of them and everything. Yeah. And Gene Wilder originally wasn't supposed to be for this role. He wasn't supposed to be in that movie, in that role. It was originally going to be Gig Young, who was a old actor, Western type actor, but he was drunk on set during that scene.
Yeah, something with
Gene Wilder was friends with Mel Brooks before that, and so he was flown out to do that, to do that role and everything. And originally, the character of Bart was supposed to be played by Richard Pryor, and or James Earl Jones, but they didn't pick them. Instead, they got Cleavon Little. And it's just a little bits of trivia I love about movies and stuff like that. And this movie just...
It's definitely a really funny movie, and it's also it's a pretty good movie too, because it has those things that kind of get at you, and then you're laughing, and just some of the hijinks that the characters get into. Like, you start watching it and you're like, yep, this is Mel Brooks, and this is funny, and because it's Mel Brooks, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and just one more bit of trivia I just want to bring up. When Mel Brooks wrote the script and was going into production stages, he was in the commissary of Warner Brothers, with the Warner Brothers writers and all this stuff, sitting across the table from John Wayne. And Mel Brooks handed John the script saying, I want you to be in this movie. John Wayne took the script home, read it, came back next day, handed him back the script and said, no, this isn't the type of movie for me to be in, but I'll be first in line to see it. And I just thought, John Wayne was a fan of the script, and I was just like, and I found out also, sorry, one little bit, they showed it to the main guys at Warner Brothers. They didn't laugh at all. It was all silent during the filming, but then they got lower people on the Warner Brothers scale to watch it, and there was nothing but laughter coming from the theater.
Yeah.
So so that's where they kind of pushed on, because how hilarious it was to the people who weren't so serious.
Yeah.
So it's just an all-around great movie, even though there's those aspects of race and everything in it.
Yeah.
But it's still a good comedy. My dad and I still reference it to this day. It has it has a few lines that people reference still to this day in my mind. So it's just an all-around great comedy.
I still love the toll booth.
Anybody got a dime?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go back and get a load of dimes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a really great movie. Definitely something to check out if you are able to withstand that kind of humor and all that, and if you're old enough and all that. It's definitely a thumbs up kind of movie.
Yes, definitely. Just any Mel Brooks movie, if you think about it.
They're all top notch.
Yeah, it's just, well, based on other people's opinion, of course. But our opinion, Mel Brooks is a genius, and very yeah. And so that's it for this episode of Media Maniacs. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yep, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed with glaucoma.
There were no symptoms. I had no headaches.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
You lose mobility, independence, changes your entire life.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
My husband tells me that I have beautiful brown eyes, and I don't want to lose that.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.